Blood. So this is a typical blood smear, and these are made by putting a drop of blood right over at one end of the slide, and then taking usually a second slide at an angle and smearing it right across the first slide. And what you get is a nice spread of the blood. And so the cells are very thick at one end, and then they're better spread out as you move toward the other end. So with these, it's usually good to go down to where they're sparser because you really want just one layer of cells. So let's zoom in here. And blood cells are pretty darn small, but this is a pretty good spread in here. Now you look around, you'll see a few cells with nuclei. You'll see, oof, there's another one, there's one. There aren't very many. But let's try to get a couple of them in the field. Let's look around a little bit more. Ooh, there we go. We got three now. But when I zoom in, we'll lose some of those because we'll make this field smaller. So let's stop here. All right, so you'll notice that the most common cell here are these little discs. And what is missing from these little discs? Yes, of course, they're missing a nucleus. And red blood cells throw out their nuclei. They throw out any apparatus they have for making proteins. And the reason, I hate to use that, but one advantage of doing that is that these cells have no use of oxygen, and they are the carriers of oxygen, so that works out really well. They don't use up any of the oxygen that they're carrying to other cells throughout the body. So these are red blood cells or erythrocytes, and they're one of three formed elements that float in blood plasma. The background is plasma, but of course that's a liquid and it gets spread out, and you can't really see much of that. So red blood cells, and then there are white blood cells. White blood cells come in about 5 different types, and you tell the difference by looking at them. This one is clearly different than this one. Some of them have these segmented nuclei. This has a little more reddy or purpley background. This one has a more purpley background and a more ribbon-like maybe nucleus. This one's a little bigger than this one. So when you study white blood cells in Bio 202, you'll learn more about which is which there. This one is called a monocyte. This one's called a neutrophil, if you care. But for us, these are leukocytes, or simply white blood cells. The third formed element in plasma are these little guys called platelets. And they're the whole reason that we referred to the things floating in plasma as formed elements. These are fragments of a cell called a megakaryocyte. So these are simply cell fragments. They're involved in helping your blood clot. And so you want to see a fair number of these. You don't want your blood to clot unnecessarily, but if you slice through a blood vessel, then it's helpful for keeping the blood inside your body if if you are capable of forming a clot. So three types of formed elements: red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets.